Hi Falcons, this is Mrs. Lamb, and today we're going to be doing lesson 21 on page 333 of your workbook. We are still continuing with combining like terms, and this first warm-up is selecting all the statements that are true. So I would like you to go ahead and decide which ones are true by working them out and entering your answer to the side and then coming back. Okay, so if I look at this first one, I have 4, and then remember that the sign goes with the number behind it. So we're going to distribute that with 3 plus 7. So we have 4 minus 2, or negative 2 times 3, which would be negative 6, and negative 2 times 7, which is negative 14. So we're distributing the negative 2 to each of my terms on the inside. And we've done distributive property just recently, so you should be good with that. Now, when you come to the other side, what you have to remember is that order of operations tells us we always multiply and divide before you add or subtract. So multiply, I would just write a little note, divide before any addition or subtraction. So over here I see 2 operations that involve multiplication. So I'm going to do 4 minus 2 times 3 is 6, minus 2 times 7 is 14. So those turned out to be identical, so that is a true statement, number 1. Okay, number 2, I have the same thing. I'm distributing the same thing. So 4 minus 6 minus 14 equals, I have 4 plus negative 2 times 3 is negative 6, plus negative 2 times 7 is negative 14. Well, adding a negative, remember, is the same as subtraction. You really just have 4 minus 6 minus 14. So again, these two are the same thing. So number 2 was also true. Number 3, I have 4 minus 6 minus 14 equals 4 minus 2 times 3 is 6, plus 2 times 7 is 14. Okay, now I have subtraction on one side and addition on the other, so this will not be true. And let's try the last one. 4 minus 6 minus 14 is equal to 4 minus, and in the parentheses I have 2 times 3, which is 6, plus 2 times 7 is 14. So now when I distribute this, I'm going to have 4, and this is like a negative 1 on the outside, or you're taking and finding the opposite of 6, so it would be negative 6, and the opposite of 14 is negative 14. So these two, again, turned out to be the same. So 1, 2, and 4 were the ones that were the same. And just taking the time to remember our order of operations on that problem. So, seeing it differently, some students are trying to write an expression with fewer terms that's equivalent to 8 minus 3 times the quantity 4 minus 9x. So Noah says, I worked the problem from left to right and ended up with 20 minus 45x. Do you think Noah is right? Or where did Noah make a mistake? So look over that a moment. Okay, hopefully you saw, it looks like Noah did this outside first. He subtracted 8 minus 3 and he got 5. And then he multiplied 5 times 4. So going back to that first note we took, you are going to multiply or divide before you add or subtract. So he was out of order. So no, this one does not work. Noah subtracted before multiplication. And then Lynn says, I started inside the parentheses and ended up with 23x. So she went right in here and she said, oh, well, 4 minus 9x gives me a negative 5x. Can I take 9x away from 4? you can't. We've done this before. These are not like terms. So, no, cannot combine unlike terms. And then Jada says, I used the distributive property and ended up with 27x minus 4. So Jada came down here and she said 8 minus, and then she took her 3 times 4 and got 12. And she took her 3 times negative 9 and got negative 27x. Then she distributed the negative sign. So she found the opposite of 12 would be negative 12 or minus 12. And the opposite of a negative 27 would be a positive 27. So she has 27, and then 8 minus 12 was negative 4. So that is correct. Okay, and then Andre was the last one. He used the distributive property, but ended up with negative 4 minus 27x. So let's see, he distributed negative 3 times 4. He took his negative 3 times 4 to get negative 12. And then negative 3 times negative 9x, which should have been a positive, and he got a negative 27. So a negative times a negative should have been a positive. So this should be plus. So Andre was incorrect. All right, if you turn the page, take a moment and make sure you have these notes before you do that. But if you turn the page, you're going to see questions 1 and 2 were already answered. We did that as we looked through their problems. So we're going to go on to the next page, which would be 335, and we are grouping differently. So Diego was taking a math quiz, and there was a question on the quiz that had the expression 8x minus 9 minus 12x plus 5. But Diego's teacher told the class there was a typo, and the expression was supposed to have a set of parentheses in it. So, number 1, where could you put parentheses in it to make a new expression that would be equivalent to the original? So it'll give you the same answer as the original. So let's see what the original would give us. We have 8x, and then let's move our terms that are the same together. So we have 8x minus 12x, and then your constants would be negative 9 plus 5. So 8 take away 12 gives me negative 4x's, and then negative 9 plus 5 is negative 4. So I want to put parentheses in there, and it will give me the same expression. So we could do that if we put our parentheses in the front. So if I do 8x minus 9 minus 12x plus 5, basically I didn't change anything. I can take these parentheses off and I have the same thing. So 8x minus 9 minus 12x plus 5, which is what I started with, so it would be equivalent. So this is one way you could have written it. You could have also included all 3 terms. You could have done 8x minus 9 minus 12x, all in parentheses, plus 5. And again, if I remove the parentheses, I have the same thing. Nothing is happening that's going to change those terms. So I have 8x minus 9 minus 12x plus 5 when I take the parentheses away, which is the same thing I started with. Okay, so these are 2 different ways you could have written that expression with parentheses that did not change the expression. But now where could I put the parentheses for number 2 to make a new expression that's not equivalent to the original? So remember, our original is negative 4x minus 4. So let's put those parentheses in a different spot. If I do 8x minus and then put my parentheses, 9 minus 12x plus 5. Let's see what happens. We have 8x, and then the opposite of 9 is negative 9. The opposite of a negative 12 would be a positive 12x plus 5. And now I'm going to take those like terms, the same ones that have an x, and put them together. So now we have 8x plus 12x. And then I have negative 9 plus 5 are my constants. 8x plus 12x is 20x, and negative 9 plus 5 is negative 4. So this expression was not equivalent to the one before. And maybe you wrote this in a different way and found out that you had another different answer. So there's more than one place you could have put those parentheses that would have changed your answer. This is just one of the ways. All right. So today your practice is going to be on page 336. You're going to do numbers 1 through 5. Okay, there's 6 problems. You only need to do 1 through 5. All right. Have a good day, Falcons.